Hey, we're Satellite Mode, and we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I just heard you guys maybe less than a month ago. I came across the debut album on Spotify, and then just recently you guys dropped a new single that's putting you guys on the radio, putting you guys everywhere.
Yeah.
Satellite Mode, and what's up? How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to meet you guys. I see a future in the music industry with you guys, and you know, like I'm excited to be there from, I guess, the beginning. But tell me about this new single that just dropped earlier this month, Gave It All.
Sure, yeah, Gave It All. We wrote that in about an hour using like a drum beat and like a bass line, and it was like one very delirious night. We recorded a ton of melodic ideas on voice memos, and then like we woke up the next day and we're like, oh, I think we got something here.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah, it came from a real place, and it was sort of after a big protest in New York City, and Jess was landed at JFK and ended up sessioning at like 11 p.m. with me. And these signs on the streets were sort of protesting the Dreamers movement and the band, the travel ban, and it resonated with us. Yeah. And it sort of fueled the song, and it grew into something bigger than ourselves, and it's been awesome to put it out.
That's crazy. I think it's hard for anyone to just put politics into, you know, their music, into their lyrics.
Yeah.
So, you know, going in to write that, you know, how difficult was that? Even though you did say it took about an hour, but how difficult was it to put politics in front of everything?
You know, it was kind of an impulsive reaction. It was more of an emotional thing for us. It wasn't like, let's sit down and write about politics, you know, and what we're reading in the news. It was kind of like, this is happening, and we're seeing it happen in our city. And the chorus kind of came out immediately, and so we ran with what we were feeling. Right. Yeah, it is a first for us though to write about what's going on in the world, and we were, you know, we did have some. We were a little hesitant about it, you know. It's
a little out of our comfort zone, and I think that's what's awesome is we're trying to chase that fear and trying to do things that we wouldn't do if we weren't sort of pursuing this sort of career. And it's something as an artist you have to talk about. You have to be the voice of the people in a way because it's your job. And the thing that we try to do is it's not necessarily the political aspect of it, but I try to think in terms of sort of objective truth. Right. And when I see something going on in the world that is objectively wrong and objectively bad, such as that, it's our job as artists to sort of react to that. And it's been happening very frequently lately, and it's been awesome and inspiring to see. Some of the most influential artists of my time come from the 1960s, and that was a huge movement and a huge moment in time where artists were politics. And now that there's sort of a turn back to that, it's really exciting for us as artists to have that voice again and be able to be heard. So it's actually really exciting.
That's good that you guys are somewhat comfortable with it, because there's other artists that I've talked to that, you know, especially this year, they're so scared of even just going on Twitter and saying something because everybody takes everything so personal this year. So, I mean, do you feel that you had to think about that a lot while writing this song? Did that even cross your mind? Like, what if I offend someone? What if, you know?
No, I mean, it's not about, like, again, it's kind of like objective truth. I think there's a way to not offend people when you're speaking objective truth. Even though everyone has different opinions and values, there are some things that are wrong and some things that are right, and we try to find the things that are wrong in society and try to shed some light on them. That's what we feel we did here. It was very obvious. The whole world pretty much agreed, and yeah, there's going to be dissenters of anything you do, but with this song, like Jess said, it kind of came so naturally because we were dizzy with it. Like, you felt it in the air around America, and you still do. So for us, it wasn't necessarily like, hey, what are people going to think about us? Because we're already exposing ourselves and are so vulnerable. It's more about how can we create a piece of art that represents this in the best way possible. Our specific take on it, our specific viewpoint of it, that's objectively true. So that's kind of where it came from.
As you guys went into the studio to record it, Did you guys just work on it on yourselves? I know you do production as well, but did you produce it as well? Did you guys work with a third person, a producer, anyone else?
We worked with a co-producer, Harry Burr, and he also brought in Andrew Morey.
Okay.
So yeah, we worked with other producers on it, but we wrote the song together and laid the framework in Alex's room.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So essentially, I put the ingredients in. I kind of got the vibe, and then we sent it off to Harry and Andrew to picture frame and like really bring it home. And I think they did a great job. And they're super duper talented guys, and really pumped about it.
How awesome is it to create something in your bedroom and then come out, go on a little tour, go to LA across the states, and then perform that song that you literally wrote in a bedroom?
Awesome enough that we are turning our lives upside down to do it. Like addicting, it feels so liberating to express yourself in that way.
Right.
It's like healing in its own way.
Right.
I recommend everyone do something similar to that, whatever that might be for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, turning your lives upside down, what has been the biggest challenge in doing so?
Lack of, I guess, routine and stability. I think those are things that people see the lives of artists, no matter what level. You could be on top. There's the lack of routine. It kind of can drive you crazy. We don't know what we're doing on a day-to-day basis or on an hour-to-hour basis. And I guess the other thing that's challenging is like the fact that it's never going to be enough. Yeah. And you kind of get to that moment where you're starting to see some success and it's starting to be super cool, but you're like not happy at all. You're like, I just want more. I got to get bigger. I want more people to hear my music. I want to be able to express myself to more people. Right. And I want to change the world. And it's sort of, that's been difficult to me, like coming to that realization that like I think we have something here that needs to grow and is going to continue to grow. So that's one of the things.
What about for you, Jess?
I struggle with like what I enjoy doing as an artist and what is popular with the rest of the world. I mean, in general, I don't care like to be doing what everyone kind of thinks is popular, right. And that's a whole other conversation.
That's another song coming soon.
Whole other thing. I mean, there's so many different genres. It's not even like a thing anymore with Spotify and all these streaming, platforms. But like as a singer and a writer, I struggle with like making sure we maintain artistic integrity and like what I feel is good enough or what I feel could be better. It's like what Alex said. It's just never enough with regards to like being a better artist, being a better stage performer. Right. And I think that there's a healthy amount of that. So you always strive to be better for yourself and for everyone else that's listening and watching. But it can be a little draining if you don't put a cap on that and like celebrate the small wins. Yeah.
Now, is this part of a reason why the single dropped so quickly? The debut album dropped in December, and then 6 months later we have a new single.
Yeah, so the debut album, like it's more of a collection of singles. We didn't really like sit down and like write an album. What we did is we released songs for about a year and rolled them up as singles, and then we kind of just like, hey, that was like 2017. Let's just put it all in one thing and like kind of like smush it all together. And I think we're gonna kind of for this batch of songs, what we kind of already have in our back pocket recorded. We kind of did the opposite, where we went, okay, yeah, we had some momentum, we've released some cool singles. Let's sit down and actually take a year off from promoting and touring and just come up with 4 or 5 songs that kind of fit together, and gave it all as the first one off of that the release that's coming out next. So I wouldn't necessarily brand it as our debut album, though on Spotify it definitely very much looks like that because it says album. Right. So but for us it's sort of like this is kind of the first like real artistic statement we're making as a band with regards to a body of work and not just sort of singles. So like I think that's sort of why it happened so quickly, is because the success of our singles kind of bought us some time to like sit down and go like, okay, what's our next step?
Right. So with this new track that has, like you said, it's the first time you guys dealt with politics in a song. Can we expect some more of that stuff, or is this one of those one-off songs that you're going to touch that subject once and then you're going to move forward with everything else?
I mean, maybe. Maybe. You never know. I don't know if we plan our writing that far in advance. Okay. A lot of our writing is impulsive or impromptu, and yeah, kind of flowing. So being that the world is what it is today, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and again, like what Jess said, it's whatever we're feeling most at that moment, and we have songs recorded that are more political than others, and then it kind of comes down to like which ones we're going to release. Right. So we do have another one that I've been pushing for, that I really want to release, Jess.
Let's talk about it, Jess.
I like it too, man.
Let's talk about it.
I like it too.
I think it's very relevant, and it has a political message, and I think it's a
It's
great
not like
song.
I didn't help write it. I obviously like it.
She doesn't know that I told Rob.
Right in the middle of the interview.
She doesn't know I told Rob.
Exclusive, guys.
Yeah, I told Rob to actually bring this up before the interview, just so we put it out next. I've been pushing for
Next
it.
single coming real soon.
He has been pushing for it, but
Yes.
But why do you have to push for it? What's wrong with it?
no.
What's wrong with it, Jess? What's wrong with this song that you wrote,
wrong
Jess?
with
It's
it.
just not done. Honestly, it's not.
just not
It's not done. And what happens in our lives as artists is we kind of just roll with it a lot. And this song has been kind of floating around. Like we've been loving it. And we haven't put the wrapping on it yet. And it's waiting, but I think it's worth the wait. We have a couple songs like that we play at shows that we haven't released yet because as artists, we kind of get like cold feet sending a song out to the world because it's a very vulnerable thing. And once you do, it's like done. You can't change it. Right. You can't edit it. You can't say, oh, I wish I didn't do that. And we hear it every time. And every song we ever wrote, we're like, oh, maybe we should have done that differently. We still think like that. So it's very hard for us to kind of let go of a track. Right. And that's one of those. And we still have songs out there that we're playing for people. And they're like, why isn't that out? And we're like,
yeah.
We get to ask that question a lot, so maybe we're learning a little.
All fingers point at Jess.
No, only one. No, it's not her fault. It's both of our faults, and it's not necessarily like they're gonna be out. They'll come out. It's just a matter of the right timing for each track. So I think as artists, I think I'm having a little reflective moment right now. Well, because it's on camera, we might as well reflect that maybe we're going to be a little more go with our gut on stuff with regarding to releases. And I think there's a couple songs out there that I think are definitely going to come out this year that we've been sort of holding on to.
The fact that you guys are kind of hesitant on that song, maybe even reconstructing it over and over, like I've noticed a pattern with other artists that there's always that one specific song that they almost didn't make it to the record because there was something about it they didn't like. They had to change it. They tossed it. They brought it back. And then next thing you know, that album drops or that single drops, and that's like the biggest single that fans really love. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the same with you guys.
I hope we come back and have this interview next year and we're like, yo, man, it's good call. Good call on that. Yeah, that track yet. So we hope that happens.
Right. So when you guys get together to work on music, I mean, I know you said it's kind of like impromptu and stuff like that, but like, do you guys ever work on like lyrics first, melodies first? Like, is there a certain way that you guys do things? Is it always different?
It varies a good amount. Like sometimes Alex will have like a groove going on, like he'll have a track and then I'll come in and start laying down melodic ideas and we kind of carve out what we like. Right. And there have been some tracks where like lyrics are written out, but we don't know it yet.
Right.
Yeah, like they're like written in a notebook and we pull out the notebook and there's a great motif that we have and they fit together. So yeah, a couple of different ways, I guess. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So while you guys have been here in LA, you've had a couple shows now. Yeah. What are the plans going back home? You guys have another show in New York City, but what are the plans for the rest of the summer?
Ooh, rest of the summer we'll be working on more songs, tying up those songs we're talking about, making sure we get them to you sometime soon.
We definitely want to be releasing at least a song a month till the summer's over. So we have some songs ready to go, some songs that aren't ready to go that like we think are ready to go, and we're going to be doing some music videos. The big thing is we're playing Rough Trade July 10th, along with a couple other great bands, Des Rocks and Tanners, and we have just so much ahead of us regarding just releasing these songs. We're doing remixes and acoustic versions of each one and trying to kind of tap into different listeners' ears with each version, because I think the thing we pride ourselves most about Satellite Mode is the songwriting. We love like the vibe we create, but at the end of the day we think we're having the success we've had so far just because of the strength of the actual songs.
Right.
And I think we're growing as songwriters, we're growing as producers, and we're also growing as performance artists. And the next like huge sort of bucket list thing for us is to get on a get on a tour, go out on tour, okay. And we're kind of putting the pieces for that together, and we're already kind of doing it. I mean, we're out in LA, so. But I think we just kind of want to get on the road. We're itching a little, like, play our songs to people. So.
Right. So you mentioned the songwriting is your proudest.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest challenge in satellite mode?
Decision making, I guess.
Okay.
Making those creative decisions to tie it all up.
Yeah, saying I think like we kind of tapped on it, like saying we're done on things and where to draw the line between like getting better and making progress, if that makes any sense. So I think that's been the hardest thing. And the other hardest thing is just being in the music industry. It's like kind of a really vulnerable thing because at the very beginning, no one knows who you are, from like fans, industry people, just your peers. Like they don't really know who you are, and as you grow as an artist, like people start to know, and then we're at that point where we think that it's sort of like leveling up almost. And I think we're like starting to reach that level up moment where it's like getting really real, where the life is starting to hit us that like this is why we're on Earth. And there's no other time to do anything else. So it's a really exciting moment for us, but it's also pretty hard because you have to continually put yourself out there. You kind of have to continually take huge risks and chances on making sounds for people in your bedroom. So it's pretty crazy stuff.
Right. But you guys are making noise. I mean, like I said in the beginning of the interview, like you guys just got radio. You guys are getting more attention with this new track, and you know the reason why I feel like there is a future with you guys. When I first listened, like I said, I heard the debut album, or the mixture of songs, the mixtape.
The collection.
I heard that. There we go. I heard that through Spotify, just listening to something else. I can't even remember what I was listening to, and then you guys popped up, and then Gave It All came out. And the first listen of Gave It All, your vocals just sound so familiar. Like it sounds like it's a sound that I've been listening to. So it doesn't sound like, oh, this is a brand new band. It sounds like something that's already been in the industry.
Oh, cool.
So I feel like that's not a lot of artists that are new or fresh like have that kind of you know, sound with them. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I'm struggling how to explain it right now.
It's giving me chills, and I love the way you're explaining it. So yes, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, talk to me a little more about your vocals. Like, did you grow up singing? Is that something that you just picked up as you guys got together and started doing this project?
I grew up singing. I was horribly shy, and I'm one of those introverted extroverts. And singing was the one place where I felt comfortable. Yeah. So I started speaking as I started singing. I was pretty young. And so I guess I like begged for lessons, and I took lessons, and I did some. I was on the sing-off, which I don't talk about too often.
Oh, wow.
I did some classical crossover singing, but I was always writing pop songs. Like I was never writing what I was singing, but I was getting hired to sing more challenging and like more trained music, which really didn't stir up anything inside of me like it did some of my colleagues. But yeah, so I've been singing for a while, and that's how I started really learning how to arrange music and co-produce. Right. Was through arranging a cappella music and listening to music in a whole different way. Yeah, so those are my roots, though, kind of singing whatever I could, like roots, like jam band, folk, a cappella.
You just touched every genre. That's what
I mean, like whatever, if there's something new to learn, I want to learn it. Right. Like I will nerd out on that. Anything else I might be like brain dead on. But with singing, I want to know, I want to be challenged. Right. So yeah.
What about for you, Alex? Did you grow up with music, and did you learn music when you were a child? Did you learn it recently?
I played piano since I was 6, and even before I played the piano, my sister and I used to make interpretive dances up to like classical music for my parents. So we're starting.
Is there videos for that?
Oh yeah, I mean there was no YouTube back then, back in them 90s. But I kind of always loved it, and I always felt the vibe of music. And I started playing piano. I honestly didn't love it because I was taking classical lessons, and I was like, this is boring. I never practiced, but I always could figure out the music. I wouldn't have to like read. I would just like kind of memorize it. And then I started playing the saxophone and learning how to improvise. And I had
A little bit of jazz.
Yeah, exactly. The jazz bug bit me, and I kind of transferred the love for improvisation and jazz and brought it to songwriting and piano, because I was really good technically at the piano, and I kind of started writing, and I taught myself guitar because I wanted to be cool because I like Green Day, but that's a whole other side path we're not going to go down. But with the piano, I kind of have like freedom. It's like carte blanche. I could do whatever I kind of want. It's really easy for me to write, and I started writing songs and writing lyrics, and I just knew how much I loved it and I wanted to keep doing it. And I was in bands and stuff. I always loved the Beatles and bands like that, but mostly the Beatles and like Led Zeppelin and like classic rock. I was like really, really into. And growing up, like my peers weren't into the same music, and I would be in bands and stuff. I wasn't really passionate about it, and then slowly I learned like I kind of have to create my own sound in order to do it. And like that's kind of where the journey is. It's not just about writing music and being in a band. It's kind of creating your sound, and that's the journey I've been on for the past like 4 years. Is how can I just make a sound so when people hear it, they go, "That's Satellite Mode." And that's kind of where my mind's at, is like take all the tools I've learned in bands with all the different instruments I play, all the music I love, and like add some of my own elements and make it my own. So it kind of went from dancing in my living room, feeling the vibes, to like creating vibes that someone, 100 years from now is going to be dancing in their living room too as a 5-year-old person because they feel it. So that's kind of the long story of it, but that's where it came from.
It sounds like you guys kind of went through the same kind of journey, just obviously different paths, but that's interesting. Now you guys are here together. Now, with this music for Satellite Mode, for those that are not familiar with the band, like what is Satellite Mode all about?
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah.
That will close us off.
Why don't
Yeah.
you take it?
Satellite Mode is sort of about turning off to turn on. So figuring out how to sort of feel the world around you and the connectivity of others without sort of being connected. And that's kind of where it came from, is when we were in sessions, we would always put our phones on airplane mode and sort of like tap out to get within ourselves and how to tap into that something greater. And that's sort of where the music comes from, is that even though we were sort of tapping into more like darker subjects and sort of more painful subjects, we always use music and light and sort of meditative thinking to sort of overcome that. And to me, that's what Satellite Mode is all about, is like knowing that there's darkness in the world, but using light to sort of overcome it, and that balance between the two. So to me, in a nutshell, that's what the band's about.